This was awkward because I was trying to do two things at one time. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Full 40. Here with Chris, Willie, and Trevor. Trevor, actually, of 6ABC News. So Trevor, if you didn't see the news, is actually just
area man.
Trevor. Area man gives opinion on World Cup. But as we were sitting here talking about Trevor's big news, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the news that came out over the weekend, specifically for our podcast, before we start talking about Providence and life on the bubble and what Villanova basketball looks like. We want to talk a bit about what this podcast is going to look like going forward, because what does Alexa want? Chris, you have some news that you want to share. I want to go make sure Alexa shuts up.
Yeah. So thanks, Willie. Just to share everyone who didn't see it, I have decided that this is my final year as a full-time member of the podcast. I won't rule out, like Rob did recently, a guest appearance here and there. But I have another kid on the way. My wife and I are expecting a little girl in July later this year, and that'll make it 2. And while we're still playing man-to-man defense, it's going to be a lot different. And so everything I've heard about going from 1 to 2 is that it's a dramatic change. And with that, I kind of decided, hey, you know what? The podcast has been a really great run. I've had a lot of fun with everybody. I mean, you guys have been awesome. But it goes back to even when Rob and I started it, and then a year or two into it, we got hooked up with Darryl Reynolds, who gave us a lot of support. Nova Insider, Anthony at Nova Insider was amazing for several years as well. And then obviously all the guests, I won't go through all the names, but all the guests that we've had on the podcast, all the moments, friends, etc., that I've made through the podcast has been terrific. And I would be remiss without shouting out Brian and Rachel, who have been instrumental in helping to grow this thing and bringing a lot of fun moments and times on the podcast. So I can promise you it has nothing to do with the performance. I could actually tell you that it's actually easier from a content perspective if the team's up and down to just shoot from the hip and talk hoops. When the team is like a 1 seed, 2 seed, and is good, it's like, oh man, I'm inventing why I'm pissed off, why Jay didn't sub in some guy I'm like, I got to be mad about this. And it's easier to talk when the team is a little bit up and down. But I am sad to kind of end it, but it's definitely kind of like my life has to take on a different path at this point. Rob and I started it over, whiskey and barbecue going back in the middle of 2018. And for 6 years, I've been doing it every week, at least, of every season. So as we sit here today, it's kind of a moment of saying, hey, you know what? Like, this has run its course. I've had a lot of fun, but it's time to kind of move on to being more of a dad, more of a girl dad than I already am. And I'm looking forward to the next stage of my life. But obviously, I'll be at Villanova games. I'll be always supporting Villanova. I haven't donated $50,000 every year for the last 7 or 8 1842 days, but I do contribute, and I'm a passionate member of the Villanova community, and I always will be. So that's never going away. But what will go away is my time on here every week with you guys. That being said, I couldn't be happier to pass it on to 2 great guys, Willie and Trevor. You guys have been awesome to do it with this year. Willie, obviously, we go back to last year's season, but you guys have been fun. It's been fun building friendships with you, and I am utmost confident that you guys will take it to new heights going forward. So that's it for. I don't want to talk about me too much anymore, unless you guys want to chat about that. But
yeah, we have our opinions.
Yeah.
You could say that it was time for you to get a job, Chris.
Yeah.
Put the podcast microphone down and go get a job. It's actually interesting though. You've gone from so you're still playing man to man, but you could have it was a lot of double teams earlier with just Melina, and now you're gonna have this little girl, and you're gonna go to a switching defense.
Oh yes, definitely a switching defense.
Maybe even a zone. How are your kids against the zone? That'll be the true test.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, Melina takes us 2-on-1, and my mother-in-law's here, so 3-on-1.
Yeah,
and she fucking puts up numbers, absolutely puts up numbers going 3-on-1.
I'm imagining the Wilt Chamberlain meme where it's 50 for age 32.
She's the only one to average more points than minutes alive.
I think we played this team, but do you remember that Alabama year where 2 of their players got ejected? I think it was.
I was literally just was the Sexton. Yeah. I was just rewatching that.
He got into it with the Nova Knicks the other night, and it did not work out with him again.
But they went 3-on-5 and almost won that game. And that's what Melina does every single day of my life. So, the next kid is it's overwhelming. It's going to be.
Well, I mean, Trevor and I can wax poetic and thank you for a bunch of stuff, but we'll do that in a later podcast. Obviously, nothing but love for you, but no one else in this podcast really cares. They're all happy to see you go. That's literally what the chat's saying. They're like, get out of here. No, there's no one in chat saying anything. I can tell Chris was like, wait, actually. But I did want to kind of switch gears here and talk a little bit about Providence. We did a thing. We finally got one on the.
Yeah, I have one more. One more bit. Chris leaving the pod is nothing but divine providence.
that would have been a great segue.
All right, I'm done with my niche references for now. Okay.
There'll be at least 2 more in the pod. Providence game happened. We did the thing. We put something on the left side of the column. We got a win, which is absolutely massive for us. 1, for the program, just for the team, I should say, just for winning. 2, maybe for the program in general. It feels it was a big win to just release a little bit of pressure. And then 3, for this collective fan base, because we were inches away from quite literally storming the Connolly Center and having a hostile takeover of Villanova University.
Villanova insurrection.
Was February 6th would be the day you'd remember. But yeah, so thoughts on the Providence game. We basically had a strong start, a strong middle. The finish was
Then finished.
You let that finish go with the way the first 35 minutes of the game went.
I mean, look, Providence didn't play well, but that being said, that was our most complete performance of how this team is meant to play Villanova basketball. Whatever this team's version of Villanova basketball is, that was as close to it as I think we've seen. I'm going to say the whole year. I'm trying to think through because every other game, North Carolina was high scoring. We're not going to win a lot of games the way that North Carolina game played out. Creighton, we got down big and had to fight back every other freaking game this season. This game was just all intents and purposes, wire to wire, and great defense played throughout, and got to see the ball from multiple players go through the hoop. Just got contributions off the bench. That was actually a big story of the game. That the difference in the bench contribution was very dramatic. Lance Ware played his best game as a Villanova Wildcat. And
maybe a Kentucky Wildcat too.
Honestly. Maybe as any Wildcat.
Showed off some nifty passing.
Yeah. And so, and look, you got to see some good things. I don't want to go the negative route necessarily, but maybe the only thing I'll say is my one takeaway, the one thing that I'm just like, man, like left me wanting a little bit more is exactly that Justin's not right. Justin Moore's not right. It's just very obvious. He actually admitted it in like a press before the game, and it was abundantly clear he's not right. And I guess the silver lining to all of that, right, is that Mark Armstrong was running the show on offense and kind of got back to playing well. So that's good. But the offense looked a lot better with Mark at the helm. Neptune made that change to put him back in the starting lineup, and I think it was necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I agree there. Justin hasn't looked right basically all season. I had multiple group texts, like specifically during the Providence game, being like, all right, this is like clearly like you could excuse a bunch of like the first couple of games. Oh, it's just rust or whatever it is. He's not right. Kudos to him for being even being out there and battling. But that's like obviously like super important. He still had key buckets. Like when Providence was making the run, he had a key bucket to like put to kind of like stave off one of their runs towards the end of the game. So like still obviously proud of him. Mark looked great. Mark's great's a loose term, but like he was in control, which I think is like the big thing, which I wanted to see. Like he was in control. I didn't feel like he was too rushed. There were a couple of like threes where I was like, I wouldn't have done that. But like
there was nobody else shooting the ball.
Also nobody else shooting the ball.
Using a lot of shot clock, so there was some that he just kind of had to hoist.
Just kudos to Mark. And like we should never ever get a 10-second violation. It's 8 in the NBA because Mark is a one man. Like I will beat a trap if you just give him an inch of space. So that was like really good to see. Like when Providence did that, eventually just started getting it to Mark, and he was just like, I'm just going to break out of this because he's one of the quicker players in the Big East. So that was really good to see. Lance Ware have nothing but like positive things to say. This was a game where everyone kind of just did their job across the board. I think we had 7 or 8 people who scored at least 8 points. Maybe like 6 people, whatever the number was, but like it was balanced scoring. Bamba started and like looked very started the game and looked just like very like he looked all year. Like I've liked what I've seen from Bamba basically since the turn of 2024. So he looked strong. Burton was able to chip in where he was at. Dixon like did his job. Like it wasn't like a masterclass Eric Dixon game, but like that was also because Providence was throwing doubles at him every single time he touched the ball, to the point where like I think one of the adjustments we could make is like where we start letting Dixon touch it from the perimeter and work his way in a bit more and have him face up before he posts, instead of like setting him up in a post, but in the high post or the low post, wherever he catches it. But regardless, like Dixon was able to like pass out of double teams. Like it wasn't like he got trapped too much. So overall, like, yeah, Providence didn't play well, but we played well enough to win, and like not just win, but like in a like slog game. Like we controlled that game more or less from beginning to end. So like even though the offense was abysmal in the first half, just like for both sides, when they came alive, like we were able to control it too. So I'm proud of the team for this one. This was a win that we needed.
It was definitely like so bad that it was funny early on, just how nobody could put the ball in the basket. I think Providence only had 4 guys score the entire game, which is kind of insane. They did get a lot of looks, but just weren't. So like that happens. Mark Armstrong played really, really well, I thought, for how like rough the refs were letting people play him. Like he was getting knocked down hard, seemingly every time he got to the basket. Again, there's stupid things like Hakeem Hart, dunk the ball. Just please dunk the ball. He had like, I think he didn't expect to be that wide open. And that's just kind of like, I didn't think the ball was going to hit me right in the hands right here as I go up. And he whiffed a layup, and then he almost did it again on a fast break. But Lance Ware's best game, 3 big blocks. We didn't concede a run when he and Hazen and Mark and Burton and Bamba were on the floor together. I think that's when we actually kind of broke the game open. And it was, like you said, everybody was kind of contributing in their own way. When it got within 12 and you thought, uh-oh, here comes the kill shot. Timely buckets. Longino made a 3 or 2, which I think was the first time in several games that he was able to connect. Justin had timely layups and backing guys down in the post, just doing his thing. Like Chris said, I think his legs are gone. He does not really have an outside shot. I think his thing is just going to be doing like the Jalen Brunson post show to try to get his scoring.
It was a lot of front rim, just like across the board.
Which is kind of what we saw at the end of the Butler game as well. And his shot just like really hasn't been back since he's returned from the knee injury. And I think this is just kind of the version of him that we have for however long the season goes.
One thing I want to call out with Mark, just as like we were talking about Mark, it's interesting that we feel like he's played well, but he has but the Marquette
he didn't have a great statistical game.
It's statistically like he went 2 for 13. But like it was a weird, and I think even the Marquette game, it was like also not. I can look up what exactly he shot, but it also felt like it was like I'm thinking like 5 for 18. Something like
but
that.
his presence on the floor and just in the offense was helping, and just having somebody that was taking care of the ball this game. I know he was prone to like some new point guard woes last year and beginning of this year, depending on the defense, but I think they did a great job taking care of the ball for the most part.
But that's actually what I want to call out. It's like that's the thing I'm proud of, where like you've had 2 games in a row where statistically he's actually kind of been bad. But like his presence is like, oh no, we need Mark on the floor, which is like, I think the hallmark of a good basketball player, when you're finally like, when it doesn't matter if your shot's going in or if not, like you are providing impact to the team, whether it's defensively, stability, whatever your impact is, you're providing that to the team. And Mark's doing that. Like he's had like not great games, but like I've come away from the last 2 games being like, I like where Mark's heading. Even though he like earlier in January, he had 5 straight games or 4 straight games, like where he's putting up career highs. But now it's like the career highs aren't there, but I feel better with his presence on the floor. So that was just something that like I want to give Mark some kudos for.
I'm in agreement. Like I am the statistics, like the box score. I don't think his impact showed up in the box score. Like he broke down the press, as you mentioned earlier. I felt like the ball moved, and the offense was more connected with him at the helm, which is good. That's kind of what we have been saying even from the beginning of the season, like is going to be what Villanova looks like if Villanova is going to be the quote unquote, as they like to say, the best version of Villanova by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Mark has to be the point guard.
Yep.
TJ Bamba continues. Like he has 9, which is weird because I would have thought that he had more.
No, but his average is up to like high 14s or maybe 15 over the last 3 or 4 games, 3 to 5 games. He
continues to be. You can't say it because Dixon's on the team, so he can't be the best player on the team. But he continues to be the best guard on the team.
Yeah.
And again, his contributions are just great on both ends of the court. He had a great quote the other day. I'm not talking about the fan quote. I really don't want to get into that.
We don't need to discuss that.
Yeah, but he had a great quote the other day about saying like how he wanted to lead from the energy perspective, control what he can control, like, and so he actually called out that early in the Marquette game, it didn't work out, but like early in the Marquette game, he almost got a steal in that very beginning set after the tip. He dove after and almost got a steal in the beginning of the Butler game. And he basically said, I'm doing this intentionally because I'm trying to like will this team.
He's done this every game this season. He immediately tries to steal the ball after the tip because Eric doesn't win a lot of those tips.
Yeah, make an effort play to try and tone set, which I
with a foul sometimes, but
right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We talk about like our slow starts and like obviously like he's been doing this for most of the season trying, but like that's a thing of like, all right, there's a level of a slow start from like a schematic standpoint. There's a level of a slow start from like sometimes your shots just aren't going to go in. It's a make or miss game. Like that's just basketball. Sometimes you're going to make shots, sometimes you're going to miss. There's slow starts with that, but there's also slow starts with energy. And like Bamba's realizing like, all right, schematically, I can't necessarily control that. That's coming from Kyle. That's coming from whoever Kyle's facing. That's going to throw whatever. Shots like missing or making, like there's a level of like, yeah, you can control it to a little bit, but like not really. Like at the end of the day, like you're going to get an open look and it's only going to go in like 40% of the time. Like that's just, if 40% of the time is like elite numbers for open 3-point shooting, like, you know, so it's just like, that's, but like what you can control is energy, and Bamba's recognized that. And this just gets to what we said all season about him. He's felt like a Villanova basketball player, like he's been here forever. Just even being a leader like that, I think is just like such a key. Like, I mean, it's just really, it's just a really like indicative. It's indicative of just what he's done for us. That's the way I'll describe it.
And he has one more year, correct?
He has the option for one more year.
Yeah, option if he wants it. Yeah,
yeah,
which is good, I think.
Yeah, Burton has now for like the fourth straight game, I feel like his 3-point shot is doing better. I tweeted about this, but Burton's just so much better player when he's cutting and moving without the ball.
We don't use him the right way. I'm going to be honest. Like, we just don't.
Yeah.
He like, it's like the way I feel Burton needs to be used is like on this team is cutting and diving. Like you just said, that's the way it needs to be used. Or like when he was at Richmond, he had the ball in his hand all the time, where he was able to drive. And like, obviously I'm not saying that because like we don't need him to do that here, but like it's one of two things. Like at one point I don't know if it was a design play, I can't remember, but he took like a movement 3-pointer and like hit like the side of the backboard. I was like, we're setting him up to fail. Like that's not who he is. Like
he needs to be on the Brandon Slater program.
Yeah.
Go and dunk everything you touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But regardless, played well. Like at the end of the day. Yeah.
He just plays better when he's doing those, when he's focused on the garbage stuff. Like the garbage, like cutting, moving without the ball, creating different looks, making the defense move. Even if it's not like a cut to actually get the ball and go up, like, but a cut to make the defense have to change positions on the floor. That creates that trickle effects, butterfly effects into a mismatch somewhere else, or crashing the glass, or anything like that. He literally plays like all the other stuff that he wants to do, like shoot threes and whatever, he does that better. It's like you could, if he's plugged into the game, doing the little things, he does the other stuff better too.
He's like he's an off-ball event creator, where like when he does off the ball creates opportunity for others. And to your point, like when he does that and he starts doing that well, he usually shoots better. Like he's more in a rhythm. He's not taking a movement 3-pointer across, moving across his body. And he's like taking catch and shoot from the corner, where it's like, I don't know what the percentage is. I don't have that up right now, but I'm sure his catch and shoot percentage from the corner is way better than his catch and shoot or off the dribble 3-pointers when he's like forcing his offense. Like realistically, he needs to be a person that just like, I'm not even going to worry about my offense until I get like, or maybe not even the whole game, but like, let me go get 4 defensive rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds. And just by being active, the ball is going to be in my hands at the rim. I'm going to lay it up. I'm going to dunk it. And I'm going to have 6 points before I know it. And then I can start rolling. So there's a lot here that like, I think Burton can continue to grow and work on. Like, and this gets to kind of what I tweeted this, and I feel like we all felt this, and we can kind of use this to transition to our next conversation. But like, this is what's been so frustrating for me, because that was a game where we played more or less up to our potential. Like that was a game where I was like, no, this is the level of talent this team has. This is the level of productivity they can have. And that's why it's so frustrating that we have 10 losses right now, because it's like, this team shouldn't have 10 losses. I'll even just take away like in the non-con, we're always going to go back to the non-conference of like we losing to Drexel, losing to Penn, and like, I'm still hung up on the Kansas State game because like that was when we should have just closed out. We finished those off and we're in a way better position. We finished Butler off and if we just finished Butler off, we're in a way better position right now. So it's just frustrating because it's a moment of us playing up to our potential, and now we just have to do that more often, which is like we've used all our mulligans up, frankly. Like, and as compared to some. And as compared to like last year, where I think last year we were like, okay, this team has talent, but like we're injured. There's no real reason, but like maybe there's a way we can backdoor it. But it was like there was a logical reason why we were in the situation we were last year. we just hadn't
I
played
got
up to our
nothing.
potential this year. I got nothing. Like, there's no logical reason besides like we just haven't played up to our potential. Everything else, like I'm gonna throw all the like extra noise that we've had, like about Kyle and about like throwing that outside. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't be. We should be this. We should be 12-10 right now. Yeah. There's just executional things that we haven't done, and like seeing us do it, like we did versus Memphis, like we did versus Maryland, like we did versus UNC, even showing the medal we showed versus Creighton, what we did for the first 32 minutes versus Butler. It's like, yeah, it's there. We just need to like put it all together. And now we're in the situation where we are on the outside looking in of the bubble. I think if I even go to Bubble Matrix, I don't know if anybody has this on it.
Bracket. I have Bracket Matrix.
Okay.
Do you want to go Bubble now, or do you want to do run the ad?
Oh no, we can do Bubble.
You want to do Bubble first?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. Yeah, I have Bracket Matrix up. It's kind of awkward at this point in time in the year, so you got to read a lot of names. Not only for two reasons. One, because the bubble is naturally large because there's still a month of season left to play. But two, because not everyone updates their bracket all the time. So you kind of have to – so the wisdom of crowds isn't necessarily perfect. But effectively the bubble is St. John's, Nebraska, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Florida, Butler, Seton Hall, Washington State, Colorado, Providence, Virginia – some people have Princeton, Cincinnati, Richmond, Memphis, Gonzaga, Villanova, Oregon, Kansas State, Wake Forest, Xavier. Like, which a lot of Big East names in that bubble. Yep. But it's so you're kind of looking at that right now from what I've seen from the bracketologists, whether it's Field of 68 guys, whoever it is Villanova's still on the outside looking in. Like a win versus Providence, who's also ostensibly on the bubble, is not moving the needle from us from bubble out to bubble in. Yep. That win at home is not gonna that alone do it. Yesterday was a little bit more of a play out game for us. Mm-hmm. So like we were backs against the wall, absolutely needed to have that game, but kind of looking around to say, okay, where do we need to go? Those are the teams that you kind of need to pay attention to. And frankly, a lot of them are in our own conference, right? Like Butler, Providence, Seton Hall, Xavier, St. John's, all in our own Providence, all in our own conference. Now, St. John's is 2-0 against us, right? They're probably better than the bubble. I'm just kind of calling here. I think St. John's is better than the St. John's is better than the bubble. I think they will find their way in the next string of games. I think they have to play DePaul and Georgetown both twice. So they have 4 more wins no matter what.
Yeah, there's still meat on the bone for them.
Yeah. We're through the hardest part of our schedule, which is funny because it also works in our favor too, because we have some good wins to lean back on. So ours is our bubble thing is a numbers game. We have to get to X wins, and we can let's have that debate as to what number that is. I think it's 19 on Selection Sunday, but I think 20 is safe.
20 is safe. No matter, 20 with our wins is safe, basically, no matter what.
Yeah. But 20 is probably safe to also miss the first 4. Yeah. But 20 is definitely safe to get into the dance, and we're at 12, right? So
3, 6,
8. 9. We need 8 more.
8 more wins to do the math there,
and we have 9 more games left in the regular season.
So guaranteed 10 more games.
Yeah,
is what you're looking at. Let's just say the magic number is 19 wins. I think with our wins, the magic number might be 19 wins. Obviously, if you lose to Georgetown, then the number kind of becomes 20. But
it might be done. So
But at 19 wins, you have to go 7-3.
And in doing that, you beat some of these other teams that are on the bubble with you. Like you have to get through Xavier, you have to get through Providence again, you have to get through Seton Hall. Those are 3 teams that beating them helps
That's
you
a big thing.
more than just the win column.
When Bubble Watch happens, there's going to be a bunch of Big East teams, and it's just going to be like you said, the Seton Hall and the Providence games for us are just going to be like losers outside, winners probably still like safe on the bubble at that time, assuming we handle
all their games. All the games are very high leverage situations going forward, short of, and like, even though it's not like if Georgetown beats us, they're going to be in the tournament, like, just because of the fact that if they beat us, that probably means our season's done we're looking at the NIT.
With some of our losses, yeah.
Like,
we got great wins, we got some bad losses.
And what's interesting is that, like, because of the way the Big East logjam is, right? Like, you have UConn, who's in a class above. And Marquette's a half step or a full step below them. And then Creighton a half step below them. And then 4 through 9, 2 games separate 4 through 9. So
we're 3 games out of 4th, I think, right?
Something crazy like that. You could very easily go anywhere from being in the 8-9 game to being in the 4-5 game just on what we have left in the schedule. So it's a lot of variability.
We're going to have to, like, if we're really like calling it out, we got to win either protect home for sure. And then got to win at Seton Hall or at Xavier or at Providence. If you're able to do that,
just win at UConn.
Or just win at UConn. That would make it a lot easier.
Yeah, winning at UConn would do a world.
That's like 3
I'm
wins.
In for the easiest path to success here. If we just win at UConn.
Should I guarantee another win versus at UConn?
I think maybe pass on that one.
Let's get our clicks up.
Yeah.
We're gonna beat UConn at in the state of Connecticut.
It's Dan fine. Hurley, I've accepted
grass.
This week is super critical. Like, you can't do worse than 1-1 this week. You have at Xavier on Wednesday, and you have Seton Hall on Super Bowl Sunday. At the Wells Fargo Center. Like, it has to be at minimum a 1-1. And that's what Ken Pom has. Ken Pom has us losing at Xavier and beating Seton Hall, but both games close. Xavier is actually a couple spots ahead of us, has slid a couple spots ahead of us in the old good old Ken Poms. But it's the bubble life on the bubble right now is super weird because every team's got like a different thing gnawing at it. Seton Hall just didn't do enough work in their out of conference schedule, so they've needed to have that win versus UConn, needed to have that win versus Marquette, but they need to stack wins and still need to stack good wins.
I can't wait for the banner they're going to hang at the end of the season, being like, "We're the only team that beat UConn and Marquette." I can't wait for that that discussion to come out at the around Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Butler's kind of in the same path, although they've picked off a couple. They've had a couple big wins. Obviously, that game that they played versus Creighton on Friday was electric.
Wild.
Yeah. But yeah, Providence is really weird because Providence is numerically, from a win standpoint, has enough wins, but unfortunately, they're just going to they're getting the
schedule.
And they're getting the injury discounting now because now everything that they did beforehand is not the team that they're going to be when
the reverse bias card. Yeah.
Yes. And as I said from before, like Villanova, it's literally a numbers game. Willie, you said it. Like, our schedule is Xavier, Seton Hall, which you just covered. Got to beat Georgetown twice, and we play them within 11 days of one another. So Friday the 16th and then Thursday the 27th.
Which I don't love.
Yeah. We got to beat Butler at home, right? And like, Butler is not a team that's going to be easy to beat at home. Like, they just beat Creighton, right? And they beat Marquette.
And Butler will need that win versus, like, for all we feel like Villanova's still a Q1 win on the road versus us. Like, that's going to be huge for Butler.
Right. UConn is, UConn. And then then you get into March and you're at Providence, at Seton Hall, and home versus Creighton. Like, that last stretch is tough. The way I've been like drawing this up in my head is they have 6 games left in February. go 4-6, go 4-2 in those 6, so that takes you to 16-12. And then to get those last 3 wins, you have at Providence, at Seton Hall, Creighton, and at least 1 game in the Big East tournament. You got to take 3 of those. That's the path to 19 wins. If you're like kind of putting pen to paper on like how do you figure us for an NCAA tournament bid? It's not undoable by any stretch of the imagination. It's also not easy.
We could just win the tournament.
I
like simple solutions.
I was on T-Rank, which I love because I love their little team cast thing. It looks like, according to T-Rank, that magic number might actually be 18. Simply because to get to 18, you're going to need to win one of Providence, Seton Hall, Xavier on the road, and then protect home.
Or UConn, yeah.
Or I'm just kind of skipping
UConn.
No,
I know that's a given. Like, it totally changes as long as you don't fall apart everywhere else.
Yeah. Because everything else is home. Every other game is home. And then it's road Georgetown, road UConn, road Providence, road Seton Hall. So assuming we protect home, we have 4 more home games left. Sorry, is that math? 5. Wow, math is tough. No, 4. Math's easy. We have 4 more home games left. And then you have to just stack you beat Georgetown and get you 5 with the road. And then 1 more road win gets us to 18. And according to T-Rank, it gives us a chance.
And that's also before the Big East tournament. So
before the Big East tournament,
you pull one, you win your whatever from 4th to 9th place game at the Big East tournament. And
I mean, you could be in a situation where we are the 6th seed and you get DePaul.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, going from 18 to 19 could be like not the biggest difficulty if that is
in all honesty. Like, I mean, obviously win the rest of their games, but like, not that we would ever do this, but like with a game left, it's like maybe we just like you're angling for that. Yeah, literally, it's just like, all right, we're just gonna like sit here because then you get an extra win on your resume, and maybe it's not that we lose games. We're like, hey, St. John's, you need to beat Butler for us. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, and the 4-5 versus 8, 4-5, 8-9, right, is going to have to go through UConn. So that's not ideal.
Avoid them. We've already beaten Creighton. Obviously, Marquette.
At some point, we have to beat Marquette.
It might not be for a little bit.
It might be a little while, but at some point, just by like pure happenstance, we have to beat Marquette. We haven't beaten them in like 6 tries. So
ask any team from the Big East between 2013 and 2016 how many tries you have to go through to beat a team, because we did a pretty good job of not giving anyone that opportunity for a long time. Yeah.
But Marquette's like, I felt like it's always played us tough. Like even when those teams,
no, I know, like
we would win.
We needed like last second buckets against them in 2018. Like there was always close games, always rock fights, even with Wojo.
Where is Wojo right now?
I think he's doing TV or something. Yeah,
he's actually at ESPN.
His name got brought up for the DePaul job on one of the like memes I saw, and I was dying. But
bring him back. The league needs Wojo back.
My blood pressure doesn't.
Shaka Smart slaps the floor harder than Wojo does. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, he's been upgraded.
All right. Well, I think we should go into a little bit of a commercial break here for an ad read. I'm not going to play mine. I'm playing Trevor's because I don't want to hear my voice. And then I think we can talk a little bit of Seton Hall X.
A literal ad read.
Today's episode of the Full 40 is brought to you by Homefield Apparel. Homefield produces some of the best quality vintage collegiate apparel on the market. You won't find better game day gear anywhere else. Homefield has the ultimate collection of old school logos and looks with the best quality around. Shop t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, bomber jackets, and more at homefieldapparel.com. Don't forget to use code NOVAINSIDER for 15% off your first purchase. That's code NOVAINSIDER at homefieldapparel.com. So you look at that, and then if you see my news interview, you'll see I'm actually quite natural on the camera. So I don't really know what happened there. I made that reporter laugh so like, they had to put my clip in the news just because I had her eaten out of the palm of my hand. Anyway, we have Xavier.
You're raising her up.
Trisha, you can find me on this podcast. So we got Xavier on Wednesday. The good news is the Xavier game that we played at home was super low stress. There was no issues at the end of the game. The right players were on the court the entire time. And we had no problems closing that out.
I think that's it.
The bad news is everything I said was a lie just now.
I've just lied.
Yeah. My journalistic integrity is gone, Trisha. So what has anyone been paying close attention to Xavier since then? Because I've kind of just forgotten, and I don't pay as close attention to the rest of the league as you guys do. So what's Xavier's story been since they feel like they let one slip away at the Pavilion?
They just didn't win that game versus us. They've had 3 losses since us. They got absolutely fucking clobbered by UConn. Like,
oh yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
They lost at Creighton comfortably. But then beyond that, they've beaten Providence at Providence. They beat Butler. They beat Georgetown and St. John's and DePaul. So it was a good smattering of wins, but they've kind of the Butler game, the at Providence game, the St. John's game were all obviously good wins. They do have it was before us, but they do have a 20-point win versus Seton Hall. They're 12-10, just like us. They're right near us in Ken Palm. It's actually kind of weird because the teams look kind of similar.
We have a similar-ish resume.
They don't have the quality wins, although St. Mary's is becoming a little bit more of a quality win.
Someone has to out of the W.
and Cincinnati's becoming a more quality win.
Yeah.
But they're kind of in this position of Sean Miller is straight up willing this team, because he's a great coach. Like he's straight up willing this team that is under talented.
Yeah.
To being legitimately have an NCAA tournament hope. They played one of the toughest out of conference schedules in the country. I think our strength of schedule is 8th in Ken Palm. Theirs is 6th. They've played a very, very difficult schedule, and they're getting credit for it. And rightfully so. So where they're at right now is they are in a position where they have to rip off wins. They got to get a couple big ones. They probably need a high quality win, which honestly, we wouldn't even provide that for them. But they have their away game. They've had 2 games against Marquette. They still have a home game against Creighton. So they have opportunities coming up. But Quincy Oliveri has been good for them. Obviously, Desmond Claude is their go-to guy as well. But those guys have been really good. I think Quincy Oliveri just put up 43. It was versus DePaul, but still 43 points is 43 points. So their fans are starting to love that team because they are fighting really, really fucking hard. And people realize that due to the injuries before the season, they're unfortunate. They still found a way to fight their way into a good position here.
Fremantle.
Yeah, Fremantle had
I was trying to remember his name. I almost said Stainbrook, and I was like, it's not Stainbrook.
No, that was your Uber driver, Willie.
Yeah. I was like, what was his name? Yeah, it's Fremantle. Yeah, obviously, we're losing him in the beginning of the year. But yeah, I mean, Chris basically said everything I'd say about them. Like, it's been up and down for them, a little topsy-turvy. As compared to like where we had 5 losses in a row, they've kind of split them with like lose 2, win 3, lose a couple, win a couple. I mean, we've already seen them. Like, I think the idea is obviously like we know the head of the snake is Claude, and we know Oliveri's there. We know that like the team's gonna like. I mean, Oliveri's gonna put up numbers. Claude's there, McKnight, and then like there's a bunch of role players like and who can obviously who all are like bring different stuff to the table. It's gonna be tough. I mean, playing at Cintas, we know that Cintas is. I think for my like record, Cintas is probably, even though like yeah we've like beaten them historically, like it's always been a tough place to play. Like obviously Marquette's tough, Creighton's tough, but like Cintas is like when we go out to the Midwest, any one of those games besides DePaul, it's like usually like okay, this is going to be something that we got to work through. And then obviously Miller, like Chris said, is doing his thing, and like that's an advantage that they will have. Like that's not shade to Neptune. That's just Sean Miller is a more established like coach and is a really good coach. So we'll see how we handle that. And then after Xavier, we have Seton Hall, who has kind of gone through like they kind of hit like I don't want to call it a tailspin, but they lost 3 in a row.
On the the Ferris wheel. Ferris wheel's whatever.
Yeah.
They're going kind of up and down.
Like they were. So they started off so strong. I thought, okay, this might be the team to challenge like UConn at the top of the conference. Not necessarily like that they were better than UConn, but just like they might rack up enough wins and UConn might drop one that all of a sudden it's gonna that Seton Hall will be at the top. That's not the case. I mean, they're still in contention, but they've lost 3. They lost 3 in a row, and then they beat DePaul, which doesn't really mean much. But I mean, they've been really good. Dre Davis has been awesome. I think like Kadari Richmond has a real case for Big East Player of the Year. He's not going to win it, but he's been so fucking good. And like for anyone he's like healthy enough. Yeah.
No, I wasn't he. Didn't he just miss a couple games?
Yeah, he missed a few games.
Yeah.
Kadari did. But I think he's back.
He's back. That's what I thought. Yeah. I was like, I didn't think, yeah. I was like, wait, is he not back? But no, yeah, he's been back. But yeah, I mean, regardless of like assuming he plays, he's going to be great. And then obviously like Alamir Dawes has been good too. So it's just been like it's a Seton Hall team that we know how Seton Hall plays. It's no different than like any other time. It's going to be a fucking rock fight. We are playing them again on the Super Bowl, which is such a weird thing that we constantly play. I feel like we play Seton Hall a bunch on like the day of the Super Bowl. I don't know why the Big East loves that, but yeah, it's going to be a good game. If for familiar, this is our first time facing them, so familiar face. Dylan Adewusu is on Seton Hall. If you remember, he was on St. John's. I'm not going to say much more about him because I'm not the biggest fan of his game, but you know,
I was going to say the same thing, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say it because then he's going to go off.
Yeah, us. Just not the biggest fan of his game, but
your game stinks.
But yeah, so it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a rock fight. That's just what it's going to be. We know how Seton Hall plays. I like what Holloway's been doing thus far. Like it's been pretty good, and this will be a win that Seton Hall needs to get on their resume. Like it will be a Q1 road win for them, which like, as Chris mentioned earlier, Seton Hall doesn't have like the strongest resume. Like they lost to USC, who like at first you thought, oh, that's a fine loss. Now USC is like not that good. A loss versus Iowa. They lost to Baylor. They lost to Rutgers. Like the only win that they have is, I mean, big win is obviously UConn, and then like, Marquette and Marquette, but like non-conference, there's nothing really there. So you're just kind of like, they have to start stacking, and yeah, UConn and Marquette like are huge. A Butler road win Butler win on the road is important, but not the like biggest feather in the cap. So they just need to start stacking.
Don't even need it. It's not that big of a deal.
Clearly we don't. So it's stacking win times, and like it's stacking win times for everyone 4 to 9. Basically, that's just what it is. Like it's who can win the next 6 to 7 out of 10 games will likely be on the right side of the bubble. This is going to be a fun. I mean, it's not going to be fun because
it's going to be torturous.
It's going to be torturous, but like
season.
it's good. It's just like this month of February. It's just going to be a 4-9 punching and kicking and clawing each other, and we'll see who ends up where.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh.
Yeah.
I forgot about this. I remember it happening at the time, but when they beat DePaul, Seton Hall won 72-39.
Yeah.
And I just saw it and like immediately like busted out because I was like, holy fuck. Oh man. Yeah.
They probably scored 29 in the second half.
Actually, I'm curious. How much did they score in the second half?
You go back.
Virginia had a team, or I think they had Miami held them to 17 in the first half and like
18.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, they had 18.
18, 21, 39.
Ooh, what was it? Actually, this is an aside. Sorry. I'm curious, like when our Providence game went analytically final. I'm just curious about that.
You going to
I was
have the
just
metrics?
wondering that.
Yeah. Give me a second.
I don't think it would have. I think it would have held on until the final minute.
207 analytically final after Longino hit the 3-pointer.
Yeah, that was when I felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on Twitter I'm like, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable. And then Longino hit that 3 and I was like, I'm good now. All right. Prediction time? Prediction time.
Sure.
Go ahead.
2-0.
Willie.
1-1.
1-1.
Which
I
game
feel
do you
like
guys
I've
think
been-
you're going to lose?
I feel like I've been really on with my predictions this year. I haven't written them down, but I feel like if we
Why
went
on earth
back,
would we write them down? Yeah.
I feel like if you go back, I've predicted a lot of losses.
I don't think I've gotten a prediction right since the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So I'm just sticking to it though.
I'm weirdly feeling frisky. I'm feeling like maybe we actually rip off a 2-0 week here. There's no real reason why we beat it. Like we win at Xavier. Like we get that we have the away game second after beating them close at home. Like everything would tell you, yeah, and they have the better coach. Like everything would tell you, like, oh, we got to lose that game. But I don't know. There's this weird I got this weird vibe from the team versus Providence where there was like a back against the wall, us against the world situation playing out here, and maybe this is the time. I don't know. And then, but I do think that we beat Seton Hall. I do feel like we beat Seton Hall. I don't know if we win twice versus Seton Hall, but I think we're going to get Seton Hall. I think we're going to split with Seton Hall, and so why not win this time when we're at home?
Your moment right there of like feeling frisky and like feeling like, oh, maybe we're gonna do it reminds me of that Arrested Development scene with Tobias and Lindsay, where
never worked for anybody before.
Yeah. It's like, well, did it work for those people? He's like, no, it never does. But I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might. But it might work for us. Yeah. That's what I just felt like you were.
Yes, yeah. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the
first 3 seasons.
Yeah,
the first 3 seasons are just maybe comedy may have like TV sitcom comedy peaked there. Yeah, I'm saying 1-1. I don't really know who we're gonna win or who we're gonna lose to. If we beat Xavier, I meant Seton Hall. If we lose to Xavier, I meant Seton Hall.
Obviously.
All right.
We're shooting 34% from 3 in conference play. That's not horrible.
We're inching up.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
I wouldn't sell your stock just yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or be buying anymore. I'd just kind of be regretful that I bought it in the first place. All right, close things out with a little bit of Wildcat of the Week.
Wow.
Wow is right. And today, in honor of Lance Ware's breakout game, in honor of Lance Ware's best game as a Wildcat, and just kind of the funky lineup we were playing with down the stretch to break open that game a little bit, friends of mine texted me that they were feeling a lot of Mo Sutton in Lance Ware during that game, and I honestly agreed with them. So because I do the picking for this Wildcat of the Week segment, I went to Mo Sutton, Lord Sutton, who he joined the team for the he was a true freshman in 2008, 2009. I forgot that he was a part of that. He redshirted. And then kind of was one of the guys that stuck through that transition period after the Final Four and kind of off the cliff a little bit with Jay. But let's talk Mo Sutton.
Lord Sutton himself.
From Largo, Maryland.
Maryland's finest.
We always get those Maryland guys.
I fucking love Mo Sutton. Just what a character, what a guy. Oh my goodness. Not just first off, off the court, just was actually a fun human being to be around. Great character. On the court, offensively, didn't provide much, but was always just a shot blocking presence, was always just he was a quintessential nice backup big for us. That's just what it was. There were times you're Mo, what the fuck are you doing? That happened a lot, but it was in this lovable way. Especially if you're you know what, whatever. It's Mo's gonna do what Mo's gonna do. Yeah, I mean, Mo Sutton was just he's one I always look back at for fondly.
He's actually ranks number 11 in Villanova history for shots blocked in a career, which is kind of crazy, considering he didn't really play all that much, frankly.
Yeah.
10 starts to his career. He had a good run end of his junior year, I want to say. I'm trying to speed read this bio summary.
I think Mo Sutton, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if it's his biggest highlight, but I feel like he had a block, and I want to say it came against LaSalle in I don't think the season ended up meaning anything, but I think it was early in maybe the 13 and 19 year. I could be just really pulling something out of my, what, but the 13 and 19, the 2012 year, did we beat LaSalle in overtime?
We did, because that was the Darren Hilliard steal and layup to end that game. We did. I remember that game.
He had 5 boards and 2 big blocks against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome when they were number 3 in the country in 2010-11.
Chris, I actually think it may have been a Mo Sutton block that led to. Wait, we lost that game. We lost that game.
Which, the Carrier Dome?
The LaSalle game.
Oh.
There was a LaSalle game. I thought that he got a block and we won the game.
Well, most games he played in, he did get a block, so you're probably right.
He's such an interesting guy because he was a fan favorite, but at the same time, you could just tell that
Can I read the first sentence of his bio for the Villanova men's basketball page?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maurice Sutton offers an intriguing skill set. ... Possesses athleticism and ability to run the floor at 6'11 ... Excellent instincts as a shot blocker ... Can finish around the basket. Makes most of his minutes on the floor. I think Mike Sheridan did an adequate job of describing him there. I think that's most accurate.
Yeah,
Mo was something else.
He was
if
an
anyone
interesting
does
guy
know what that game was, you're good.
Sorry, I think my internet's fucking up. But the one thing about Mo Sutton that was always very funny to me was he was one of those guys in Jay's. It was in Jay's most intense period of coaching. He was very intense. He wanted seriousness out of his players and whatever. And Mo always was waving the towel and he was always whatever. And it was a time of Jay's coaching career where he was that type of shit pissed him off.
Well, as you know,
Jay wanted
Jay Wright's benches were the first bench mobs. That's as he said. Remember when Monmouth's bench really became a meme and their celebrations and everything? And he was asked about it. He's like, well, we kind of started that, but I had to lock it down a little bit. And I was like, really?
Chris, I'm getting a text here. I think it was 2011, not 2012. So wait, yeah, 2011, Mo did have a block and overtime. Yep. I'm getting people texting me about it, a person. So
people are talking about Mo Sutton.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Jay was like, didn't like. Sorry,
he didn't know what to do.
My internet's just fucking up, so I apologize. Yeah.
It's also funny because like that was definitely the time period that Jay was like, yeah, I feel like it was the time he had the most pressure. Like whereas like expectations meets pressure, I should say. Like early NIT stuff, there was like the expectations weren't there. Then you have like the Sweet 16, Elite Eights, the Final Four run in 2009. Then you have all the shit that happened. And like that's where it was like the most pressure. So it was like, yeah, Jay wasn't loose yet, or he wasn't like as loose as when he was younger. He definitely wasn't as loose as he was in like the last end of his career, where he could I think the 2022 Final Four run, just as an aside, is the funniest thing in the world to me because Jay wanted to retire.
He was retired. He was retired.
And Colin and Jermaine were like, "Keep going, old man. You're not done."
Me and Dad were going to the Final Four. Yeah, no, Mo. So obviously before my time as a student, but my favorite Mo Sutton memory is he was featured on one of my Good Morning tweets, and looking back, it wasn't the most flattering picture of him. It was him like blocking a shot, and it might have been at that LaSalle game. But he's a tall, lanky guy, doesn't exactly have the biggest biceps. Neither do I. But just the angle of the picture. All these former play like Taj Bell, A-Ray, all these guys are retweeting it and tagging him and being like, "Yo, you just got done dirty on this," and then he tweeted back. He's like, "Hey man, what'd I do to you?" or something. Like it was very funny to me. Oh man.
My favorite Mo Sutton memory is off campus. I'll never forget this. Literally, I tell this story to people like all the time when I think about Mo. I lived on West. No, I didn't live on West. I was coming from West. And it was like,
what were you doing there, Willie?
I was having beverages. Was I of age? That's none of your business. And so had some beverages with some friends. And we're coming back to, I don't think it had to have been sophomore year. So coming back to go back to the quad. And I'll never forget this. We're crossing, you remember the old creepy train tunnel situation
Yes.
So we're crossing under that. And there's the train tracks, which had there was two sets of tracks. There was the fence and then another two sets of tracks. And then you're on the other side. I'll never forget this. We're walking down and we see Mo Sutton on the other side about to walk down. But instead of walking down, he just crosses the train tracks. He just crosses the train tracks, just steps over the fence so easily. It wasn't like he hopped the fence, just stepped over the fence and then kept walking on the train tracks. And me and my buddy are blitzed. We're like, whoa.
Full Slenderman style.
Fully Slenderman style.
Oh my God.
Mo probably had a little bit of something because he was just chilling and just going straight, and it was so funny. Mo Sutton memory.
That's crazy. My favorite Mo Sutton memory has nothing to do with actually Mo Sutton. In the Final Four run in 2009, he was the red shirt, and I don't know. I was a weird guy. I'm still a weird guy, but I was more weird then than I am now. And I created "Let It Rock" by Kevin Rudolph and Lil Wayne was
I'm already out.
was the most popular song at that moment. Maybe probably not the most popular song, but it was popular. and I wrote up a song about the team making the Final Four, and my friends to this day still fucking crack at me at this because the line where Lil Wayne goes, "And I'm back like I forgot something."
Yeah.
I said, "I'm back like I forgot something, Mo Sutton." To this day, I still get text messages from some of my buddies out of nowhere. It could be fucking 8 a.m. on a fucking Thursday. And I'll just get a text and be like, "And I'm back like I forgot something, Mo Sutton." Fuck you. I'd have to find that. It's probably in the annals of Facebook. I wrote that and sent it to a lot of people. They're thinking I was awesome.
Well, Chris, you were awesome. I'm
yeah.
sure.
But but that is to this day. Every time I hear Mo Sutton, my initial thought is, "I'm back like I forgot something." Mo Sutton.
Mo Sutton, what a guy!
Yeah, it's just electric.
Like honestly, just the person who was needed in that time period. Like, if that, like, yeah, he was just he was a Villanova basketball player who was there at the right time.
Yeah. I don't know what he's up to now. He had a Willie.
My brother just FaceTimed me in the middle.
Does he want to talk about Mo Sutton?
I don't know. He knows I'm recording. I don't know what his deal is.
You should answer it and see if he has a Mo Sutton story. Just do it on mute in case he has something to contribute. According to his Wikipedia, he's been bouncing around. Like, he graduated 2013, was bouncing around the G League, the D League at the time, but the G League and some summer league rosters, and played in South America and Europe.
Did he play in Iran?
His most recent team,
right
which says 2020 to present, is in Iran. But I don't know how often his Wikipedia gets updated, so I couldn't tell you what he's doing now. But shout out to you, Mo Sutton.
He's the one actually updating his Wikipedia page.
Anytime his Instagram handle is Lord Sutton. So anytime me and my friends talk about him, it's our Lord and Savior Mo Sutton. Is his formal name in our group chat. So that's off to you, sir.
Oh God.
All right. How are we feeling? We think we're good?
Yeah.
That's it.
We're all Villanova basketball out until Wednesday when we're angry again.
So we're ready to be heard again.
Ain't no doubt about it. I'm ready to be heard again.
All right. Well, we will be back on Monday. Yeah, we should be back Monday. As of right now, I don't think anything's going to change. Where we will be recapping whatever happened versus Xavier and Seton Hall. And then we'll be thinking about what our next games are, which I can't remember off the top of my head. One of them, I believe, is Georgetown.
Georgetown, UConn, Providence. One of those.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. There's basketball games that we're going to talk about. We'll talk about those and whatever else is happening in the wonderful wide world of Villanova basketball. But thanks, everybody. I think this is kind of the end of the podcast for now. I'm going to end the podcast like that.
Did you say the line? Fucking A.
I'm about to say the line.
Okay.
And as always, maybe I don't want to say the line anymore, guys, actually.
All right.
And as always, let's go Nova.